For decades, they were the undisputed kings of the American highway. Brands like BMW, Volkswagen, and Mercedes-Benz weren't just cars sold here. They were woven into the very fabric of American life. They were built here too, creating hundreds of thousands of American jobs and defining what a premium car meant for generations of drivers. But something is happening. A seismic shift is rolling through the global auto industry, and it's hitting home right here in the US. It's a story about a new economic reality. Faced with a storm of new tariffs, these German giants are being forced to rethink everything. It's a high-stakes choice: pay billions in penalties or make a strategic pivot away from the market they once dominated. This isn't really a story about an exodus of cars, but an exodus of investment and focus, and how the American dream for Germany's car makers is now getting complicated. So, how did a decades-long partnership between German engineering and the American driver get to this breaking point? The answer, in a word, is tariffs. This isn't some simple trade spat. It's a fundamental reshaping of the economic landscape. It started with the threat of a 25% tariff on many imported cars and parts, sending shockwaves through boardrooms from Munich to Wolfsburg. As of August 1, 2025, that evolved into a new reality: a punishing 15% baseline tariff on cars coming from Europe, slapped on top of the existing 2.5% levy. For vehicles and parts from Mexico, which are critical for many German brands, the situation is even more complex, with some tariffs hitting 25%. The impact wasn't theoretical, it was immediate. In the first 3 quarters of 2025, German car exports to the United States plummeted by nearly 14%. That single sector accounted for over 2/3 of Germany's entire export decline to the US during that period. This isn't just a number on a page, it's a financial earthquake. The Volkswagen Group, a sprawling empire that includes Audi and Porsche, saw its net profits fall by over 36% in the first half of 2025. Mercedes-Benz posted a staggering 55.8% drop in net profit in the same period. These aren't costs that can just be absorbed. This is a direct assault on their business model, forcing a desperate search for a new way forward. The problem, however, goes deeper than just finished cars arriving at American ports. A modern car is a global product. A BMW X5 built in Spartanburg, South Carolina, is full of high-tech components from all over the world. On August 19, 2025, the US extended tariffs by a massive 50% on hundreds of new product categories, hitting crucial automotive parts like exhaust components and specialized steel for EV motors. Suddenly, it wasn't just that imported cars were more expensive. The very act of building a car in America became more expensive. This created a brutal choice. Do these companies swallow billions in losses? Do they pass the full cost to American consumers and risk a collapse in sales? Or do they fundamentally change how and where they build their cars for the US market? Faced with this unprecedented financial pressure, the German auto giants have been forced to react. Each brand is navigating the crisis differently, but they are all under siege. Let's start with the Volkswagen Group, which has been hit from multiple angles. The group's operating profit collapsed in 2025, a situation largely blamed on US tariffs and other market pressures. Their immediate reaction was drastic. Volkswagen paused some rail shipments of popular models like the Jetta and Tiguan from its plants in Mexico. Cars arriving by ship from Europe were held at ports, and at the dealership, a new line item started appearing on window stickers: an import fee to pass costs directly to the buyer. Within the VW group, Audi is in a particularly tough spot. Unlike BMW and Mercedes, Audi does not currently have a manufacturing plant in the United States. Every car it sells here is imported, making it completely vulnerable. For its best-selling Q5, which is built in Mexico, the vehicle faces a potential 25% tariff, a situation that caused the brand's profit to fall 37.5% in the first half of 2025. Audi's situation has become a clear signal of the industry's dilemma. With its entire U.S. business model under threat from import duties, the company is now reportedly considering building a factory in the U.S. But that's a solution that would cost billions and take years to implement. Years Audi might not have. Then there's Porsche. Also heavily reliant on imports, Porsche saw its profit margin plummet in 2025, taking an estimated hit of over $811 million from U.S. tariffs alone. This has forced a complete reversal of its long-held stance against U.S. production. After previously dismissing the idea, the company's new CEO now admits that building cars in the U.S. looks compelling, even if it's a massive investment. The alternative is to keep raising prices on cars like the 911, a strategy that simply can't last forever. In contrast, BMW is trying a precarious balancing act. Thanks to its massive plant in Spartanburg, South Carolina, the largest BMW plant in the world, it is more insulated than its German rivals. However, it is not immune. The company still imports its sedans and coupes and faces tariffs on the critical components it brings in to build its popular X-Series SUVs in America. The impact is clear. BMW's pre-tax profit fell in 2025, with tariffs accounting for a significant hit to its profit margin. The company has responded with targeted price hikes, but its U.S. plant remains its most important shield. Finally, there's Mercedes-Benz. Of all the German giants, Mercedes has perhaps played the most calculated game. It initially absorbed most of the tariff costs for its 2025 models to protect customers and its market share. It was able to do this because, like BMW, it has a major strategic asset on U.S. soil: its plant in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, which builds its most popular and profitable SUVs. These U.S.-built vehicles are shielded from the main import tariffs. However, about half the cars Mercedes sells here are still imported, and the company acknowledged a massive 55.8% collapse in its net profit in the first half of 2025, with tariffs being a key factor. The pressure is forcing Mercedes to treat its Alabama plant as a strategic hedge, with reports that it may even move production of models like the C-Class to the U.S. Each response paints the same picture. The old way of doing business is over. The German auto industry isn't fleeing, but it is being forced to dig in and fundamentally change its American strategy to survive. This is a massive shift with global consequences, impacting everything from your local dealership to international trade. If you're getting value from this breakdown, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. It tells us you want more deep dives like this. Now, let's look at what this really means for American jobs. Section 3. The American fallout: jobs, supply chains, and the consumer. The narrative of tariffs is often about protecting American jobs, but in the tangled web of modern manufacturing, the reality is far more complex, and in this case, potentially damaging. This strategic shift by German automakers isn't just a problem for their shareholders, it's a direct threat to American livelihoods. Let's go back to Spartanburg, South Carolina. BMW's plant there isn't just a factory, it's an economic engine. It directly employs over 11,000 people. In a stunning reversal of historical norms, this German-owned plant has been the single largest U.S. automotive exporter by value for over a decade, shipping nearly 200,000 American-made SUVs worth $9 billion to the rest of the world in 2025 alone. The same story applies to the Mercedes-Benz plant in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, one of the largest auto exporters in the country. These factories are not foreign outposts. They are pillars of American manufacturing. The threat isn't that these plants will close overnight. It's a death by 1,000 cuts. The new tariffs on imported components, the engines, transmissions, and electronics shipped in for assembly, drive up the cost of building these American cars. This squeezes profits, making future expansion and investment less likely. It puts thousands of U.S. jobs at risk over the long term. If it becomes too expensive to build cars in the U.S., these companies will be forced to reevaluate their entire presence. The supply chain is already showing the strain. When Volkswagen halted shipments, it created a domino effect on American logistics companies and port workers. Tariffs on steel and aluminum parts make it more expensive for U.S.-based suppliers to operate their own factories. This isn't just a German problem. American automakers have also reported that tariffs will cost them billions because they also rely on globally sourced parts. And what does this mean for you, the consumer? The consequences are pretty clear: fewer choices and higher prices. We've already seen the price hikes from BMW, Audi, and Porsche. This fundamentally changes the competitive landscape. As the prices of German cars are artificially inflated, the gap between a BMW and a top-trim American brand shrinks. For the consumer, that ultimately means less competition. The exodus may start on a strategy document, but it will end in the showroom with higher sticker prices and some models possibly disappearing from the US market altogether. Every crisis creates winners and losers. As German automakers face a more expensive and uncertain market in the United States, they are increasingly turning their attention, investment, and future ambitions eastward. In this high-stakes drama, China is emerging as a clear winner. This isn't just a reaction, it's a strategic hedge. While the US erects financial walls, China is rolling out the red carpet. In 2025, German investment in China surged to a 4-year high, with companies pouring in over 7 billion euros. This trend is a direct response to trade friction with the United States. As German investment in the US has been scaled back, investment in China has accelerated, and China has once again become Germany's single largest trading partner. This pivot is about more than just building factories to sell cars in Shanghai. It's about where the future is being engineered. While scaling back US-centric plans, Volkswagen is pouring resources into developing technologies specifically for Chinese consumers, like new hybrids that are popular there. The strategy is shifting towards in China, for China, and eventually from China for the world. This represents a monumental shift in the global automotive power structure. The innovation, R&D, and capital that might have been destined for American projects are now being redirected to Asia. While German brands will fight to keep their current US footprint through painful and expensive localization, their focus for growth has moved. The exodus isn't about cars leaving American shores. It's about the future of the automobile itself taking root on a different continent. The story of the German auto industry's American challenge is a complex and cautionary tale. It started with tariffs aimed at protecting American industry. Yet the result has been a cascade of unintended consequences, sparking a financial crisis in the boardrooms of Germany's most iconic brands. We've seen halted imports, shocking price hikes, and a frantic recalculation of long-term plans. This isn't a simple retreat. It's a forced evolution. In the face of these tariffs, German automakers are now scrambling to localize more production on US soil, not as a choice for growth, but as a desperate measure for survival. They are fighting to protect the hundreds of thousands of American jobs that depend on their factories in South Carolina and Alabama, even as those same factories face rising costs. But the most profound consequence is the strategic pivot. The uncertainty in the US market has pushed these automotive giants to redirect their focus for future growth. The immense resources and innovation that once flowed freely across the Atlantic are now charting a new course east, toward the massive and more welcoming market of China. This brings us to the fundamental question at the heart of this saga. Has the United States inadvertently pushed its most important automotive partners to hedge their bets with its biggest economic rival? Or is this just the painful but necessary price of forcing a new era of American manufacturing? Let us know what you think in the comments below.